In the beginning, Elton John was originally born as Reginald Kenneth Dwight in Pinner, England on March 25th, 1947. His family life was rocky as his father was never home and his mother was a very rude woman. But he soon found out he had a natural talent when he first played the piano at just 4 years old. Elton then began taking lessons, and when his teacher saw his talent, he left regular school to attend the Royal Academy of Music. Later on, Elton joined a band called Bluesology and changed his name to Elton John to have a more rock and roll title. After the band didn't go far, Elton decided to become a solo artist where he auditioned at a music company called Liberties. That was where he was told that he could sing and he could play, but his lyrics sucked. So the producer handed him a random envelope of lyrics that were all written by a man named Bernie Taupin. Elton and Bernie then met up and wrote the song that got them a record deal called Lady Samantha, which would be put on their first album, Empty Sky, in 1969. Elton's very first album, called Elton John, had his first hit song, Your Song, which hit the top charts in England. This really created his first step to fame as his numbers grew and people wanted more. So they gave the people what they wanted, creating 10 albums in 4 years, with having some of his biggest hits on them, Honky Chateau in 1972, having his biggest hits on them, the first album being Honky Chateau in 1972 with the song Rocket Man, which really created his title as the Rocket Man and his big step to fame. His second album called Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player in 1973 that had Crocodile Rock. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road in 1973 that had Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and Benny and the Jets. But in the mix of his fame and success, Elton would face several issues. It first started during a party where he wandered in the back and saw his friend creating lines of white powder. Elton asked what it was, and after his friend John told him it was just something that made him feel good, Elton tried it. This started his severe coke addiction. Now, being young and famous, this would snowball into a long list of addictions and issues he would later have to face. These were an addiction to coke, an alcohol addiction, an addiction to sex, issues with weed, and issues with bulimia, all while coming to terms with his sexuality as a gay man during the 70s. Elton would also have two suicide attempts, one in the Rocket Man movie. If you've ever seen the movie, it's a scene where he takes a bunch of pills and then hops in the pool. He actually did that during a family event. He popped a bunch of pills and then hopped in the pool right in front of them all. His first one was he turned on the gas and then just laid in the oven. His coming out as gay was strange. His mother said that she knew all along and that he was choosing to be unloved and alone. His fame didn't really tank as the public didn't really react. They kind of just said okay and moved on. There was later on a homophobic newspaper called The Sun that would spread homophobic and perverted fake stories about Elton, one involving a false allegation of him sleeping with a minor. He would also be in an abusive relationship with his manager for a few years before breaking it off. His manager would constantly cheat on him, whether it was with a man or a woman, and it wasn't until his manager hit Elton that he was done with it. But like all heroes, he bounced back from it. He joined a rehab facility and successfully beat his addictions. He met a man named David Furnish, who he would later marry and adopt his children with. He stayed relevant but in later years by creating the soundtrack of the Disney movie The Lion King. He played himself in an episode of South Park. He started his charity called Elton John's Aid Foundation to help stop the spread of AIDS and stop false homophobic allegations that follow the AIDS pandemic. Then in 2018, he had his final tour, Farewell Yellow Brick Road, which held 330 shows and was from 2018 to 2023. He is now retired and spends his time with David and his two sons, Zachary and Elijah, whose godmother is Lady Gaga. I think that all of this together, what makes Elton John a hero is the fact that he not only is such a inspiration and a big idol for the LGBTQ community, but also I think he is a very important example of somebody being young and naive and messing up a lot. He was not the best when he was younger, but being able to grow and show that you can do better, you can grow from who you were, and I think that's just really important, a really important aspect to him. Thank you.